Hi, my name is Aidan Biggs. I am 17 years old and I am from Idaho Falls, Idaho. In December of 2024, I traveled to Stockholm, Sweden as a part of the National Society of High School Scholars Nobel Week Tour. As a part of my senior project, I have made a video documenting my travels, so I really hope you enjoy it. As I prepare to leave my little town in Idaho, I thought I might tell you a little bit of background information about Sweden. Sweden is a Nordic country located in Northern Europe, bordered by Norway to the west, Finland to the northeast, and the Baltic Sea to the east and south. It is the largest country in Scandinavia and the fifth largest in Europe by land area. Sweden is also known for its high standard of living, progressive social policies, and a strong economy. Stockholm is Sweden's capital and largest city. Spread across 14 islands connected by over 50 bridges, it is often called the Venice of the North due to its waterfront location and stunning architecture. After a relatively short flight where we landed parallel to another plane, which I thought was cool, I landed in Denver and made my way through the holiday traveler crowd all the way to my next gate, which was on the other side of the airport. The Denver airport has always creeped me out a little bit. Anyways, after eating and waiting a couple hours, I finally boarded my flight to Munich, Germany, and aimed for some much-needed sleep. I woke up to see the landscape of Germany underneath the airplane as we began to land in Munich. After a smooth landing, we deplaned and entered the airport. It was quite nice, with lots of luxury boutiques and shops that I saw. Although, I didn't spend much time there because I had to go straight to my gate where I quickly boarded my flight to Stockholm. The flight there was relatively uneventful. I managed to get a little bit of extra sleep, and eventually we landed. After deplaning and getting my bags, I went to the subway station underneath the airport and boarded the Arlanda Express. While on the non-stop high-speed train to the city center, I planned my route to the hostel in which the whole organization was staying at. Believe me, I was really ready for some rest. After meeting up with everybody in the lobby of the hostel, we steadily made our way to Stockholm City Hall. The weather that morning was quite cold, but also surprisingly sunny, which is not always the most common thing in Stockholm, especially in the winter. Anyways, when we arrived, we gathered in the courtyard in the center of the building. While you look at a couple more videos of the area, I wanted to talk a little bit about the City Hall. Stockholm City Hall is one of the city's most iconic landmarks. It's known for its red brick facade and the golden three crowns at the top. It was completed in 1923 and designed by architect Ragnar Ostberg. We first toured the Blue Hall, where the Nobel banquet is held. And after passing through some quite eloquent hallways, we entered the city council room, which had a beautiful ceiling, which was very ornate and awe-inspiring. Soon after, we made it to the Gold Hall, which is my favorite room. It's lined with murals, which are made of millions of glass tiles lined with gold, and has cultural displays of myths and legends of the area. And this is interesting to me because this really isn't that old of a building. It was completed in the mid-20s, which makes it pretty damn new. Soon we made our way to the Nobel Concert Hall, which is the place that the Nobel Prize ceremony is held, and draws nearly 1,300 guests every year. Not long after our tour of the concert hall, we made our way down to Old Town, Stockholm. Old Town, as you can probably guess, is the oldest part of town, which boasts small but lively streets, which have lots of lights and color, with cute little businesses which are mostly for tourists, sprinkled around. Anyways, after a long day, we eventually made our way back to the hostel for some much-needed sleep. After a little bit of a trek and a subway ride, we arrived to Stockholm University. We were here to learn more about the university, Stockholm, and also how the students live. As somebody who enjoys interior design to an extent, I really liked some of these buildings, and it was really obvious that a lot of time and effort had been put into designing these. And this ended up being a kind of common theme that I encountered. We proceeded to have lunch at the student canteen and eventually made our way to a different part of the campus. Once we arrived, we filed into a classroom to get ready for a lecture about the discoveries and work of a member of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry's committee. Even though we honestly didn't know much about what she was talking about, many of us took notes anyways. After the lecture, we proceeded to go around and visit different departments of the university. I mean, for example, here is a professor holding an ice core in a very cold freezer. And eventually, after visiting many different departments, we were brought to a quite adventurous art exhibit in the basement of one of the buildings. Something that I found interesting is that this entire art exhibit is in a space which used to hold a particle accelerator. After it was decommissioned, it was eventually converted into a rotating art exhibit.
And the tools that I have to express myself keep leading me back to this.
And after all these activities, I went out to have some fun.
I like this.
Yeah, it is very cool.
We woke up quite early the next day with very many destinations in mind. Except this time, we had a bus. And it was kind of scary to see it navigate the narrow streets of Stockholm. Our first destination was the US Embassy in Stockholm, where we listened to the staff talking about diplomatic careers and opportunities in the country. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to record inside, so I don't have too much to show for this. Soon enough, we were on the bus to our next destination, Uppsala. Uppsala is Sweden's fourth largest city. It's known for its rich history and academic prestige. It is also home to Uppsala University, which was founded in 1477. We walked through the rather slick streets to something similar to a student house, where we proceeded to have lunch. We had a type of soup with bread, and I thought it was pretty good. After eating, we made our way to the very, very grand Uppsala Cathedral, which is the largest church in Scandinavia. As you can see, it's very grand. The ceilings were immensely high, and there was a level of masonry that you never really see in the US. And it really changes the way you view buildings in the US. You see that we tend to build out of efficiency or cheapness, whereas in Europe, it's something entirely different. They tend to use buildings as a form of art in ways that we don't really do. On the floor of the cathedral, there was tombs of nobles and kings over the courses of hundreds of years, and it honestly provided a very surreal experience. We happened to be there at the exact same time that a local choir was practicing for a cultural celebration which coincides with Christmas known as St. Lucia. I was able to record some of their singing, and I'd really like to be able to show you some of it right now. Along with this, I'll show you a few more shots of the cathedral. I imagine both of us think that was pretty cool. And once we made our journey back to Stockholm, I went out with some friends. in general? After a long day and then a long night of walking and exploring, I was ready to head back to the hostel and get some sleep. We begun our day by taking public transport to a very large outdoor museum called Skansen. Skansen, located on the island of Djurgården in Stockholm, is the world's oldest open-air museum. Founded in 1891, it showcases Sweden's cultural history with over 150 historic buildings relocated from different parts of the country. Visitors can explore traditional Swedish homes, farmsteads, and workshops while experiencing local crafts and customs. Skansen also features a zoo with Nordic animals, making it a popular destination for families and history enthusiasts. Although, because it was December, most of the animals were gone, I was still able to see a few of them, which I still thought was very cool. It was very busy that day, with lots of activities and people doing things, including some carolers. I kept exploring and seeing what the park had to offer, but I kept in the back of my mind that I still had another museum to see.
Som blivit kall och sur. Därav kom det snö. Rudolf fick alltid höra. Se han har sitt liv just på. Att han blev fel.
I was now visiting the Nordic Museum. The Nordic Museum in Stockholm is Sweden's largest museum dedicated to cultural history, offering a deep dive into the traditions and lifestyles of the Nordic region. Founded in 1873 by the same man who established Skansen, the museum is housed in a grand Renaissance revival building on the same island as Skansen. Its vast collection includes exhibits on Swedish folk art, fashion, textiles, furniture, and jewelry, as well as a significant focus on the Sami culture and the indigenous people of northern Scandinavia. Visitors can explore the evolution of Nordic life from the 16th century all the way to the present. This makes it an awesome experience with very immersive exhibits and well-designed spaces. It really was interesting and fascinating to learn about Swedish history in so many different formats and ways, and overall, I really suggest you visit. After this, we were in for a very special dinner.
What are we reading here?
As a part of this special dinner, our whole tour group ate in a charming basement of a very charming restaurant. As we ate local foods, we also came together and sang a few Christmas carols as well. I always think the holidays make everything better. We then walked through the grounds of the Royal Palace to see the Nobel Week lights around the city. Are you in the dreamy portal?
I have no idea what's happening right now.
Hold on, let me get ahead so I can, Oh, are you freaky? And now, I'd love to show you my favorite part of the light show, the massive projection on City Hall. I know filming doesn't do it justice, but I hope you think it's as cool as I do. We then began to make our way back to Stockholm University to see lectures from some of the Nobel Laureates of the year. We were able to see the lectures of the laureates for chemistry and physics, and also economics. And here's a fun fact: the Nobel Prize in Economics isn't actually a Nobel Prize. In reality, it is the Prize of Economics in memory of Alfred Nobel, set up by the Bank of Sweden. Even though the subject matter that they were going over was quite advanced, many of us tried our best to take notes. It was an incredible experience to see several people who have won a Nobel Prize in the flesh. And when they were done, there was a very long standing ovation. Do you remember when I mentioned St. Lucia and Uppsala? Well, now I actually get to go to one. We all gathered in the Stockholm Cathedral in Old Town. We were filled with anticipation to see what this was like. And just like Uppsala, the church was beautiful. And something else that was just as beautiful was the singing. So here's some of it now. After a long day and a very amazing concert, I think everybody was ready to once again return to the hostel for a long night of rest. We made our way to a convention center on the coast of the city to see the Nobel Week Dialogue. The Nobel Week Dialogue is an annual event held in December, bringing together scientists, policymakers, thought leaders, and the public to discuss global challenges. And when we got into our seats, we saw a pretty cool opening from a local artist. Organized by the Nobel Prize Foundation, the event features panel discussions, keynote speeches, and interactive sessions focused on pressing issues such as climate change, technology, and human rights. The goal is to bridge the gap between science and society, encouraging informed dialogue and inspiring and innovative solutions. And as part of the prestigious Nobel Week, the dialogue attracts a global audience eager to engage with groundbreaking ideas. After the dialogue was over, me and a couple friends took the ferry back to the hostel. Where? If you ever visit Stockholm, I think you have to try the ferries. They are smooth and efficient, and honestly, especially from someone that lives in the interior United States, I think that they're really cool. They also help offer a view of the city which is difficult to get on land, where you get to see so many things at once. And as we drifted back to the hostel, I knew that my trip was soon to come to an end.
That's true. You need a map for that. It's behind.
As we took public transportation to our destination, on our final full day in Stockholm, I reflected on my trip and thought about just how transformative it had been to me. Stockholm is unlike any other city or place I have ever been to in my life, especially living in rural Idaho. And it's so interesting to see other perspectives in the world, so different from my own. Our next destination was the Vasa Museum. The Vasa Museum in Stockholm is home to the Vasa, a 17th century warship that sank on its maiden voyage in 1628 and was salvaged in 1961. It is the world's best preserved ship from that era, with over 95% of its original structure intact. Unfortunately, I didn't take nearly enough photos while I was here, but it is amazing, so I'll link the website in the description. I then gathered with many others on the shore of Old Town to see the Swedish Air Force do a flyover in the shape of a Christmas tree. As someone who's seen the Blue Angels before, I thought this was really cool. We all made our way to our final destination on our trip, which was the farewell dinner.
From the fact that these strings of amino acids fold themselves up into well-defined and complex three-dimensional shapes.
Wait for my speech. Speak soon.
The dinner was held in a faculty club building of Stockholm University, and honestly, I'm sorry that I didn't provide much commentary, but I really thought that just hearing it yourself would convey more about how we felt than anything I could say would. Overall, it was an amazing night to close off an amazing trip. Once back at the hostel, I had about 4 hours to sleep before having to wake up to go to the airport. Frankly, I don't have much to say about my way back. It was a long flight with a layover in Frankfurt, but nothing significant happened aside from me sleeping. Even though I had enjoyed Sweden so much, it was nice to touch down in Denver and see my home country again. And regardless of how much I loved Sweden, this is still my home, and this is still the place that I was born. So, as I made my final flight back to my little town in Idaho, I knew that I had an awesome trip, but I was also ready to be home.